with everyone else. I've been joined by Frank Alderton, which is, we've been trying to line this up, mate, since Bali, probably.
Yeah,
I met Frank back in early February, about February the 10th, when we were over in Bali and we were doing a business conference together. And I was really impressed with what, I've worked in finance and I've worked in the accounting space. I've coached accountants. I've worked in that space quite heavily from a coaching perspective, and for a number of years now, probably a decade. And I met Frank, and he does not fit the mold and the build physically. We're talking about build. We're talking about gym earlier. But as you traditionally accountant, Frank is really different. Well, I'm going to let him talk about his own business, but he really impressed me when we first met. His work ethic, his philosophy around business and his space and what he's trying to do in his sector really grabbed my attention. And then just the core values of the guy and who he is, I really resonated with. So today we've finally got together and got ourselves together to do a little interview. And Frank and I are always in constant contact, either via email, Snapchat, or some form of platform, maybe Facebook even. And
I think that there's probably 18 different areas in which we communicate these days, Mike.
My wife is concerned, mate. She did
I think this interview is live on about 17 different platforms. I don't know where you are, but we got my Facebook Live over here, and I think yours is probably up as well.
Absolutely.
We've got a whole array. So what we're going to have to do, I think, is we're going to have to take my Facebook Live and your Facebook Live and merge them together to get some sort of
mashup,
3D
dub smash,
country interview. Yeah, that's right.
We're stretching across the entire country here.
That's right. We're good coverage. Unless you go further north, I don't think there's any way we could cover more of Australia.
I don't want to go further north. I'm very happy in the beautiful Gold Coast where we are. So, mate, give me an idea before we kick off. Give me an idea about your business and who you are, what you do, what you like, and then we'll just kick off with the interview after that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So our business is Alderton Financial. It's myself and my father that run the business here. And essentially we started as bookkeepers, and whilst our core business is still bookkeeping, right, we actually do quite a lot more than that now. So as time has gone on for the past 5 years, what we've actually found is that because of Dad's wisdom and experience, and which is where most of my knowledge came from in the beginning, we just get asked so many different things. And we found that the more deep we get into relationships with our clients, because being a bookkeeper, we're in contact with our clients daily, weekly, monthly, depending on their business.
For sure.
And we always have a pretty intimate relationship and intimate knowledge about what's going on in their business. So, and that sort of, I guess, teamed with what I call the passion that I have for business, because I just love business, right? I love looking at all different businesses in any form, assessing how they can be better, where they can improve, what they're doing, all of this sort of stuff. So when I add those two together, it's really given us the ability to really provide some good advice around operating a business on a daily basis. And the evolution from that. So I guess, and we'll talk about this a little bit in greater depth as we sort of move forward into the questions, but the business is evolving really often and rapidly for us, because the more I educate myself and everybody here, and the more we move forward, the more I find the accounting marketplace in the industry is just in a state of, and there's not enough support and education for small business owners in this space. So our sort of focus, aside from the core bookkeeping, is really just going to be trying to educate people on their accounts. People are really struggling to sort of know where they're at. Particularly over here in Western Australia at the moment, because where we are right now in Western Australia, in terms of, the marketplace, it's quite scary for a lot of people, and they don't sort of know where to turn. And the stereotype is to turn to your accountant, but quite often they're not getting the good enough advice from their accountants that they should be. So we're sort of trying to focus on the fact that we've got such detail into their business that we're the ones that they should be coming to.
Mate, when we first
met, in a nutshell.
when we first met, you really shook um, my paradigm around what bookkeeping was and the role of the bookkeeper, because traditionally, and I think what you were referencing there is across, not just in WA, across Australia, I see it in clients right up and down the eastern seaboard, because we've got clients from, Tassie, Melbourne, right through to far north Queensland, that they really don't understand business metrics, cash flow at all, and how to make the business profitable. And when you told me about your philosophy and what you were trying to do and how you were trying to change it, my ears pricked up, because it was just, music to my ears. I loved it. And I have never seen someone, and I think you've got a gift in this space, mate, because you're passionate about it. You live it, you love it, you do it in your own business. I watch you with your videos, and those of you who are watching, if you want to follow Frank, mate, what is your, say, on Facebook? How do we follow you on Facebook?
It's pretty, I think it's just frank.alderton.
Right.
Is there? So it's facebook.com/frank.alderton or Frank Alderton, one of the two. I think I've got both, actually. So you can jump on and find another spot.
There shouldn't be too many around. Frank Alderton, he's over in WA. Look him up. You'll find him. And on Snapchat, it's FTT87. And on both of those platforms, you do a video series called Let's Be Frank. And mate, when we first met in February, they weren't in existence, and they have gone from strength to strength. But there's some real gem and values there there's some real value for business owners. I enjoy watching them, mate, because for someone who wasn't, it was a new space for you stepping into videos, and mate, you've really found your feet, and those videos are just, I believe, if you're a business owner and you actually want to get some free coaching and some free insights into how you should run your business, I would really try and jump. I don't know if you do you do them at a certain time, or is it a set?
Look, we're trying to be more detailed around how we schedule them now. So we're trying to get a minimum of 3 out a week. Actually, we've got a new show, which will be a YouTube show that's having its first appearance this afternoon. So that's one to keep an eye out for. But I'm not going to give you any more information than that. But,
it's secrets.
It's very secretive. The bookkeeping business it's got its secrets. Right? There's new things happening, game-changing type stuff.
Mate, I believe you're on the cusp. I believe you're on the cusp of game changer. I believe what you're doing, and this is why I want to do the interview, desperately want to do the interview with you, is there's a lot of disruptors happening in today's society. Our industry is going through it. The real estate industry is about to go through it. We've certainly seen that with the transport industry in the way of Uber and the accommodation and hotel game with Airbnb. But I really believe what you're doing is on the cusp and cutting edge of shaking up this accounting space. So anyone watching, make sure you follow Frank.
It's just really it's an effort for me at the moment to break the stereotype, because the way that we view it here and the way that we impress upon all of the guys in here in our offices is that the bookkeeping, whilst it's often ignored because it's considered to be a not important task, it's normally the last thing on the list. And look, we understand that people start a business because they're really good at something. They see a gap in the marketplace, which more often than not is not bookkeeping or accounting. And so they go ahead and they start their venture and they cruise along. And entry and bank reconciliation is left by the wayside because it's, boring to a lot of people and they see it as not being important. Now, but the truth of the matter is that the books tell the story of the business.
Yeah.
So accurate ones is hugely important because they tell you the past, they tell you the present, where you're currently at, and we use them to predict the future, or to the best of our ability anyway. So having those figures in perfect order, it's critical. I mean, how can you move your business, and particularly people with these grand visions that really want to achieve big things in their business? You've got to know exactly where you're at, in order to do that. Because if you've got no integrity in your data, then your reporting is just not right. It's not on point. So it's that's where we're at the basis of our sort of.
I was going to say the other thing too is if and everyone knows this, doesn't matter what level of business you're in, if you're about to buy a business, what's the first thing you ask for? Someone's books.
The figures.
You ask for the books. And there's so many businesses I see, especially on the Gold Coast / Queensland, that don't even run books. It's all done on handshake, paper napkin sort of material.
Yeah, look, and that's another thing. And, I talk quite a lot about having investor-ready figures all the time, because you just don't really know what opportunity it could be around the corner.
Yep.
And that is not necessarily an investor per se, but it could be if someone walks along here to my business, and even though I've got a really big mission about what I'm doing, if someone comes along and wants to offer me a price for this business that's ridiculous, everybody's got a price, and if you've got a cafe and someone walks up and you've owned it for 3 weeks and they come in and say, I want your business, give me the figures, and if it's worth it, I'll give you $500,000 when you've paid for it 300 a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Having those figures, even in a short period of time like that, could have just made you a couple $100,000. So it is. I mean, you just don't know. And I say that because it's happened to a client of ours.
Is that right?
He came and saw us before he opened the doors, and we set everything up. And even though it was only 3 weeks, it was enough for him to see a very, very small portion of training activity and to make a sale $100,000 more than he paid for.
Wow.
It was.
But it's an amazing thing, mate, because
even
yeah, no, go on.
No, that's all right. No, I was wrapped up.
I was going to say, it's an amazing thing because it is bread and butter. It is essentials. It's the stuff that you need to get done, but no one's doing it. And if you don't manage the sense, the dollars won't look after themselves.
Yeah, that's right. And the beauty is that with a lot of, online accounting systems like Xero, and most have got their own online version now, is that quite a lot of it's automated. So the role of the bookkeeper is becoming less and less and less from a data entry point of view.
Correct.
Which means that we've got to now become more innovative and more knowledgeable in order to provide any sort of high-end advice and this sort of stuff, because, at some point in time, the whole accounting industry, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be fully automated. When we lodge things to the tax office for clients now, our system already links to the ATO. We don't need to log into the ATO anymore because it links.
Yep.
So that tells me that at some point in time, systems are going to be so automated that, how far do we go? In 10 years' time, it could be self-lodging tax returns for everybody. I mean, who knows? So we've got to make sure that we're teaching people how to use the figures, because that sort of compliance process is just disappearing.
When we first caught up and I sort of looked at your business and you was telling me about it, I think I called you the interim CFO, the guy that you
That's right.
when you don't have a CFO.
Yeah, that's right. And look, it's probably a pretty good description of most of the stuff that we do, because, that sort of SME market, that they don't have the facilities to employ someone in that role. They don't have the cash flow and they don't need it, but they do need that same advice, whether they're turning over $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million. They still need to know about it.
I reckon they need the advice.
So yeah, I guess.
Mate, I reckon they need the advice more than the other guys. They're the ones who are needing help more than anyone.
Yeah. And look, you're probably right, because when you get your business to that point, say, where, and I'm not going to put a revenue figure around it, but when you get to that sort of small to mid sort of type tier, and you're not micro or sort of the bottom end of small, odds are you've done a fair bit of training and education. You've gone through some good and bad times, and your knowledge is kind of more there, right? But it's these sort of newer guys that are, smaller and really in the first stages of business, the first few years, that do, they really need that help big time.
Mate, let's get into. It's been a good chat, buddy, and I hope everyone's got a lot of value from that, understanding that someone like Frank isn't out of reach. Someone like Frank should be really within your reach and grabbing a hold of him, whether that be Frank or someone else that you know. But I would say that at this point, until that industry has been revolutionised and turned on its head, not everyone's like Frank, and I've had the experience and pleasure of doing some work with him, so I sort of know that. But certainly seek someone out, and if not, reach out to Frank and even just ask him a question, because everyone, I believe, now needs someone in their pocket to say, hey, you're bleeding out here, you need to fix this, why don't you drive these KPIs and hold you to account? Because it's the hardest thing as a business owner, because you might manage your staff, but who manages you? And that's where someone like Frank, that's where you come into play, mate, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's accountability for small business owners is really important.
Mate, did
because
we
it's not being...
Mate, I don't know if you squared off on this one the other day. You did your post on How much should business owners pay themselves? Did you end up figuring it? Was there an answer? Was there an outcome?
Well, look, it's really a case-by-case scenario. It's just one of those things where people that start businesses seem to, quite a lot of the time, get this sense of entitlement where they think they categorise themselves as business owners and entrepreneurs straight away, so therefore they are worth a certain amount of money.
Yep.
And the reality is, if you've got a big vision or a big goal or big aspirations for the business or organisation, you're going to get that in the end anyway. But if you want to get there in the quickest way possible, right, you've got to pay yourself a reasonable wage. I mean, the business may be able to afford to pay you a big wage, but you're sacrificing growth and time in doing that because you're sucking the cash flow out of the business when it's not really necessary.
Yep.
So it's one of the first bits of advice I give people when we're looking at figures, because I don't know, it's so regular, and you'd be amazed how many times I have to look at figures and say, guys, you got to pull this back a little bit, because it's just, I understand how you want to live, and that's fine, but if you want to do that at the sacrifice of the business, then do it. So I guess there's not a dollar figure, but it's a case by case. I mean, the way I look at it is, if you own a cafe and you're managing the cafe, then the figure is the standard amount for a cafe manager.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And that should be what it is. What the figure would be something like what you would have to pay someone you employed to do it for you if it wasn't going to be you.
Yeah,
would be the first point of call to look at.
Absolutely. Yep. Mate, let's dive into this. Let's get a little bit deep, a little bit personal. Let's talk about the other white meat, Frank.
The other white meat. Do I need to give some background on this?
Don't give background. Let it slide. Let it slide.
Let it slide? All right.
I would have glazed over that one, mate.
I will give one point of advice to anyone that's listening to this, and to anyone on my Facebook, Mike's Facebook, right? Don't go into Google and type in Frank Alderton, the other white meat, because especially if you're in an office, something might go bad.
It'd go terribly wrong for you. Oh, it's too funny. All right, mate. So why did you kick off? Because you weren't in this space originally. You were managing in financing car yards and other places. Why did you kick off? What sparked you to kick off this revolution within the bookkeeping / accounting sector?
Look, to be honest, mate, there's not really a fantastic story as to for the transition from where I was in this. I was in Melbourne working for Budget Car and Truck Rentals, and an opportunity came to come over here and work with Dad that was in the bookkeeping and accounting space. It wasn't planned. It wasn't because I had already seen a need in the marketplace for something. So I came over and I intentionally spent probably 2 to 3 years just as a pure worker, bookkeeping, learning, did some courses, got some qualifications, did all of that sort of stuff. And it was at probably the 2nd or 3rd year when I started realizing the figures of what I was getting into the system and so on and so forth, that, there was a massive need for it. And particularly in what people were being charged for accounting just across the board. The next part was every time after that 2 or 3 years, eligible as to what I was doing, the more that I started giving advice to clients, the more I saw a need for it, because it only took a short time, even once or twice, to provide any sort of advice to somebody when instant they would start coming to me as opposed to their accountant.
Yep.
For example, advisor, which just pointed out to me straight away that there was just not enough good advice being given out at any point in time. So that was just another big gap in the marketplace.
Isn't it funny?
After that, the more I did it, the more I learned. Yeah.
No, go on.
The more I did it, the more I learned. The more knowledgeable I got. I guess the better advice I started giving, and started seeing a lot of great results for clients. So that was, once I started seeing, tangible results within our clients' businesses, was, I guess, another spark. So there's a huge amount of little instances that have created where we're at right now. Not as much one sort of thing where I've gone, this industry needs this right now, but just sort of an evolution of where we've got to. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Mate, what would you say, you know, we have a running joke about entrepreneurs, mate.
I know.
But
Hashtag entrepreneur life.
I genuinely believe it is the most overused word in business today. And probably...
Look, I agree with you.
I genuinely do. And there's some people that are, you know, deserve to be using that title, and there's other people that probably should work a little bit harder and have a few different ideas. But, mate, what would you say it takes? What is it, the top 3 skills you need to be a successful entrepreneur?
I guess the first big one would be understanding your weaknesses. A lot of people, when they start a business, try to do everything, right?
Yeah.
Sales and marketing, accounting, bookkeeping, the operations, managing the people, you know, creating the vision, all of this sort of stuff. And if you do a little bit of everything, then and not properly, you're in trouble. Now I know that at small stage businesses, you're not going to go and employ an accounting team and, you know, someone to manage the business for you and business advisors and all of this sort of stuff. A sales and marketing company to do all your branding and that, because it's not feasible. There's small businesses that doesn't support it. But we do need to understand where we're good and where we're not good, and get education and training on the areas where we're not, until you get to a point where you can decide what you do and don't do in your business. So that's number one, is understanding where your weaknesses are.
Number 2.
The second thing, I suppose, being prepared to work hard and having a good work ethic. And I know that sounds very basic, but kind of like I was saying before, a lot of people start a business and think they can just do the 9 to 5. You've got to know that you're going to be working a hell of a lot, and you've got to be prepared to do that and still maintain the same work ethic. So it's understanding where you are, understanding where they sort of fall in line with each other, is an ability to deal with and manage people. As we decide to grow our businesses bigger than us, right? If you want to start a business as a contractor, whether it be in a trade or something like that, where your ambition is to just make enough money and contract various people and stay one person, maybe it's not so relevant. But if you want to build a business and an organization that employs 10, 20, 30, 100, 1,000 people, you need to know how to manage people and how to create the environment and the share the vision with everybody and make them believe it with you. They're hugely important, because if everyone's with you and everyone's on the bus, then things will happen a lot better for you. So if you're not great at managing people, again, that's fine. You've got to understand that that's one of your weaknesses and get educated on it. And at some point, find someone that can manage and do that side of the business for you. So I guess that'd be the...
Cool, man. Cool. I'm always big on number 2, mate. You're not going to get there, you know, if you don't work hard.
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
one ever achieved any level of success just by rocking up. You know, we hear the overnight success, but they took 20 years to get there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, after 20 years of hard work, someone will realise this.
20 years of sleeping on my mate's couch, eating 2-minute noodles, I finally got there.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So, mate, what's a day look like for you? You know, I know, I certainly know you live, swear, and abide by number 2. You also try and balance it out. But what does the average day look like for you? And not that it's a badge of honor or that it's important, but how many hours do you work? What do you put in?
I'd say a minimum of 12 a day.
Yep.
At a minimum, probably 6 days a week. I'm always up early. I'm just one of those people that's always awake early. So I'm normally at my desk by 6 o'clock at latest. So I'm normally awake. I try and do some fitness in the morning, but it doesn't always happen. I'm not going to lie. If not, I do try and break up the day and go at lunchtime. But so normally it'd be an early rise, office by 6. I try and break it up and do a gym session at lunchtime if I have in the morning, and then I will leave and go home probably 9 o'clock at the earliest at night, unless I've got commitments. So last night I had a dinner with a client, but you know,
Big
9
days,
times
mate.
out of 10, yeah, about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, big days,
But
buddy.
it is long days, but it's, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, not everybody wants to achieve great things in the short period of time that I want to do it. I've always been that driven, ambitious type that wants everything now. And I guess, I don't know whether that's a blessing or a curse, but I'm going to go with a blessing right now, and we'll just sort of see what the next couple of years brings.
I believe it's a blessing, mate. It is. It's not for everyone. It's certainly not for everyone, but it's a blessing, I see. Mate, can I just clarify one thing, though? Is it actually true that, you know, when you step out at lunchtime and you do go to the gym, that you actually don't go to the gym, you just drive past, take a quick Snapchat photo of the outside of the gym, and then keep going to KFC?
So then duck into KFC next door. Yeah, well, mate, it's not about what you do, it's about the appearance that you give to people. I don't know, can we make up some quote like that and hashtag Frank's quotes? Something? I don't know.
Vicious rumours, Frank. They're vicious rumours, mate.
Vicious rumours. I just go in, I walk in and Snapchat a dumbbell and hashtag gun show, and then back to KFC in the office.
That's the
There's probably some people I hope none of my close mates on Facebook, because they'll right, hang on. Oh, Simone's watching. Oh, I could be in trouble here because I could get berated at some point.
So, mate, let's go. What about, and this is a hard one to address, but I think it's a good one to actually be strong enough to be cool with it, is what's your greatest fear and how do you manage it?
It was an interesting, it's an interesting thought to me, because, and I have to think about it, but I guess the biggest fear to me is not so much, well, it is failure, but it's more about letting everyone else down, i.e. the biggest fear would be if something went wrong in the business and, you know, the guys that work with us here were out of a job, or, you know, so it's me, yeah, but I know that if it happened, I'd just get back on the horse and start again.
Yeah.
But the fear would be how that would affect everyone else around me would be the biggest fear. And from a business point of view, yeah.
I totally get that, man. There's a sense of responsibility. Once you take on staff, you take on kids. It's almost like you have a need to provide.
Well, look, you know, and I know that the people are working here have bought houses and things like that because they've got a steady salary and all this sort of stuff. So, not that I feel it is pressure, but, you know, I just know that if something did go wrong at some point, that would be my fear, that something might go wrong for them personally as a result of that. And that's the last thing that I'd ever want to see. The last thing I'd ever want to see would be I've done something wrong, stuffed up, the business has gone down, and you know, one of our employees, and, you know, we've got fantastic employees here. You know, everybody here just is magnificent. And if something like they couldn't pay their mortgage because the business went down and they ended up losing a house, would be just massive fear for me for that happening. I mean, I'm so confident that it's never going to happen. But if I was to say what am I scared of, it would be that.
Yeah, no, yeah. Mate, I totally resonate. Can I just make one comment on the staff, though? You said you do have good staff. I see it in the videos, the interactions, the camaraderie and the level of fun that you guys have in the office. But it all starts from the top. In any business, mate, you know that it starts from the top and then whatever filters down. So that's right. That comes through, mate.
One of my favourite sayings that that people hear me saying a lot, and actually it was one that Dad taught me, and it's the fish rots from the head down. So if you're bad at the top, it's going to flow all the way through the bottom.
Yep. So true, mate. All right, buddy. What do and you do have a very good client base. I think you've got great relationships with your clients. What do you attribute that success to? How do you get that successful client base?
Service and value.
Wow.
And commitment to the client, commitment to what we're trying to achieve. I want every client to be so over-serviced that they're getting so much value out of us that it's just unquestionable.
Love it.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, I can't see clients as a number, right? You know, and I guess that's hard for a lot of businesses that are in sort of a higher transaction environment, like hospitality or something. They don't develop the intimate relationships that we do with our clients. But I guess for my industry, it is making the clients feel so valued as a customer of ours that they just wouldn't even contemplate going elsewhere.
Yeah,
there'd be no question. And that comes down to relation value. And building a relationship with clients is just critical. And especially when you're talking about people's money, Mike. I mean, we're talking about controlling, in some cases for some clients, all of the financial situation of their business, right? If you don't have a really good level of trust and aren't delivering a fantastic product or service, then that can fall apart really easily.
Mate, we are singing from the same hymn book. It's exactly what I believe, 100%. And the other way is that, and I know you're thinking the same way, is that our relationship is not with their money, it's with the client, the person. The money is just the vehicle, but we actually have a relationship with them and we partner with them. And in some cases, we're actually bidding in with their family because it's a family business.
You know, it's an interesting topic because everybody is hugely wrapped up in technology these days, which is a great thing in some regards. And, you know, where we can have a meeting now or an interview between Queensland and Perth without too much stress. And, you know, we've got Facebook over here, and I know we use a lot of different technologies in our business to streamline processes and be more efficient. But there's also to the relationship that you can have with your clients if you're too separated from them. So one of the big things we do is we make sure we have a lot of personal contact with our clients as well as all the means. When there wasn't this level of technology and so on and so forth, everybody was going to see their accountants regularly or whatever it might be. Whereas now we can control everyone's financials and books and everything without talking to them or seeing them for the whole year if we really want to. So it's really important that we're regularly in communication and from a face-to-face just as well as phone calls or everything. Yep. So we try and have a lunch once a month with different clients because I believe in having a personal relationship as well as having a professional relationship. So, you know, we'll go to lunch with clients, we'll catch up with them. I'll go and have a beer with a client at the end of the week, you know, if they had a bad week or something like that and just chat. You know, it's just, you know, they're friends as well as clients.
100%. And I think that's what builds a lasting business as well. And what's from an inspiration perspective, what's inspired you in either people, a person, or a book, or even just your favorite book? What's inspired you?
Well, look, I get inspiration from a lot. I couldn't really pick one book or one, you know, person. You know, I mean, there's some that I'm following now because I guess they're more relevant. But in terms of inspiration, I mean, if you look at all of these guys for different reasons, you know, your Steve Jobses, whether it's anyone, Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, all of these sorts of guys who've all released books and written great books. You get so much out of all of them. You know, in Australia, there's a young guy, Jack Delosa, who's another one that I got my sort of who I first.
Jack, is Jack from the Entourage? Same guy?
Yeah. And so he's that was actually one of the first networking functions or I guess seminars or conferences that I went to was one of the Entourage's events when I'd really started to lift this business to the next. From then I've been following Jack and the other guys that are associated with that business. Actually, I've got a book. You want a book for inspiration? Yeah, I got one for you. Australian Master Tax. Right.
I knew that was it.
Look at this. Yeah. No, it's just a good on painting.
It's a good bedtime book.
Yeah, exactly.
Mate,
one that I just finished. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, I love Gary V. I don't know
But
if
yeah, so
Gary
I get it.
inspirational, but he's got an inspiring story for sure. I don't think he tries to be inspirational, but it just comes through that way.
It's inspirational. The dedication is inspirational. Like
Yeah.
you're saying that I work a lot, like you get 3 or 4 hours to what I do every day, and you get Gary V. It's just a phenomenal workload and commitment.
There's no comparison. He does operate at another level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mate, what's been your most satisfying thing in business? What's really lit you up and gone, wow, that made it?
Look, I get satisfaction out of business daily, you know, and this is going to sound cheesy, but I love what I do, and I love the business, and the business is so constantly evolving and growing, and the people inside the organisation are evolving and growing as well, and that gives me huge satisfaction to know that's happening. So again, it's not really a light bulb moment, or you know, all of a sudden you do your first, you know, $1 million or $2 million or whatever it might be. There hasn't really been I guess an aha moment in terms of, because I've got such a huge vision that's, you know, everything is just, anytime that I even make the smallest amount of progress towards what I want to achieve, I get maximum satisfaction of that. It keeps me motivated.
Yeah, it's like this slowly building, and each level just is great. It's like, I find it like with kids. Everyone said, oh, you know, this was a good age. I'm like, no, they were all good ages. There was no good and bad. It just was different. It just gets bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's good times at times. We all know that. It's certainly no easy ride. But, you know, any time we get any sort of success in here and in this small or big forms, you know, we all share in the satisfaction in here. It's great.
Perfect. Man, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go ask you one last thing. And this is often really a good one to think about from, you know, it's not only helping other people when they hear it, but it really helps us. Mate, if you could travel back in time to any given point at any certain day and you had 15 minutes with your former self, now I'm not talking about the time that you're in that nightclub and so it was that dark moment in a dark alley.
I was going to say, well, how far back do you want me to go? Because the further back you go, the more I want to say, stop being a dickhead and get to work.
We're all saying that one, mate. It's all good. Yeah, take yourself back. What would you communicate? You've got 15 minutes. What lessons would you communicate to your younger self in business with the lessons that you've acquired along the way? And what could you say to yourself, and what headaches could you avoid if you had that conversation?
The first and foremost, don't class yourself as successful before you are. It was a huge one. I learned very early. I learned very early on because after about 18 months of being in business, I thought I was a bloody rock star, and you know, did all the stupid things. I spent too much money. I bought a BMW, did all of that stuff when the business just wasn't ready. The business just wasn't ready. And I would say that delayed, it was a great car, don't get me wrong, but it would have delayed me by a couple of years, because it really, after that, we had a few instances where we lost some clients due to clients falling over or whatever it might be, and a couple of them were large clients. So the business sort of changed overnight, and that happens to everybody. But because of what I'd done, it sort of I didn't have the right tools to be able to push forward properly the way I wanted to, because I didn't have the spare cash for it. So it delayed me a couple of years. There's no question about that. So, and that's, I guess, something that stemmed why I put that video up the other day, because I made the mistake in the beginning, and I want people to learn from my mistakes and take the advice that I'm giving them, because it's not just for fun. It's because I've been there when I paid myself too much money and the business went backwards. So that's really important. And I guess now, I guess I'm a bit more humble in what I'm doing, I guess is the only way to word it, because I'm just genuinely enjoying what I'm doing at the moment. So I don't care if I brand myself successful or if anyone else brands me as successful. I am just loving what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep going every day and pushing forward.
Mate, that would have to be the definition of That in itself,
I miss that.
That in itself would have to be the definition of success. That you're not relying upon anyone else or yourself for satisfaction, because you're just humble within yourself and you know that you know what, I'm doing the right thing, I'm on my path, I'm following my passion, and I feel good about everything that I do. I don't need external measures to go, yeah, Frank, you're getting there. No, because you're already there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're probably spot on there. Absolutely. Then everyone, I guess, in some form categorizes success in their own way. To some people, success is the car or is the boat or whatever it might be. And if that's part of your plan, no worries at all. But you still need to understand where you're at now.
Mate, I took some great notes. I think anyone who's watching that, I hope they watched through entirety. Mate, I took some notes from that. And I didn't check if I've got any comments in that. There's been a few there, but sorry, guys, I didn't get to that. I was probably a little bit more captivated in what Frank was saying. If I could summarize, man, I took some notes. If I could summarize what you said into, well, I was going to say 3 words, the 3 phrases. Those that know me know that I've got a strong affiliation with the Rock. And Frank, you remind me of the Rock somewhat, except a little bit more albino. And
except for the guns?
The guns are similar. They're really quite similar. Maybe your quads are like...
Yeah, look, I didn't want to say anything. In case you didn't hear, I did over 1,000.
But one of my favourite quotes from the Rock is, be humble, be hungry, and be the hardest worker in the room. And if I could summarise everything that you said in our chat today, it would be those 3 things.
Yeah, well, that would be those 3 things.
Mate, you're in good
everyone else back here is really working that hard. I just had to give the guys a bit of a rev up there. Actually, listen to that one, guys. Hardest worker in the room. Hardest worker in the room.
Hey, Frank, mate, I've loved it. It was been great to finally catch up, mate. I'm going to share this on YouTube and push it out through a couple of platforms. Mate, just as we wrap up, can you share your details? Like, how do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, obviously, we've already shared Facebook. If you want to get in contact, jump on emails. You can get me frank.alderton@aldertonfinancial.com. So that's nice and easy. The Snapchat handle, FDT87. YouTube channels, Frank Alderton. Phone numbers here. So what I'll do is I'll comment all this on my Facebook Live. So jump over to my Facebook Live if you're watching this, and all the details will be in there.
Mate, and I'm going to put you on the
phone
hot
numbers.
Really, this is, mate, I didn't even know this until about 20 seconds ago. What if we gave away something like an article that you've written or an ebook or something that you might have in your resources, kit that you've got, for anyone that wants it, either private message Frank or myself, we'll send something out to you, whether it be on the, business planning, succession planning, bookkeeping, accounting, whatever you need to know, just let us know and we'll send it out to you. And I know Frank's got a ton of resources available.
Yeah, I'm happy.
All right, buddy, hang about, mate. I'm going to switch off Facebook, and you guys out there have a great week. Have a phenomenal week, and live full, die empty, guys. Live with passion and absolute purpose, and most of all, be phenomenal.